Thank you. Justin Garrett with the March of Dimes here in opposition to AB 170. Thank you to the chair and committee staff for recognizing the bill put infants at risk of not receiving newborn screening, and we appreciate the proposed amendment. Unfortunately, the remaining language still changes the newborn screening process, and we must remain opposed. As you know, the newborn screening program tests all newborns in California to identify conditions and disorders that are not otherwise apparent at birth. Diagnosed early, many of the disorders can be managed successfully, and screening prevents disabilities, developmental delays, and death. As already mentioned, all parents are provided on multiple occasions information about the screening that contains clear instruction on how to opt out of the long-term storage and use of the blood spots in that booklet. March of Dimes opposes the language in AB 170 that changes the newborn screening process and links the consent for storage and research upon newborn blood spots with the initial collection and testing. It's an incredibly complex decision about the storage and research of blood spots. There are personal reasons where you may need to contact the department and use your own child's blood spots, and you have the ability to do that. So there's a lot of factors that goes into that really complex decision. Linking it with the initial newborn screening is something we oppose. It would create a barrier for newborn screening that makes it more likely that infants will not receive screening, putting babies at significant risk of disability and death.
You're kidding me.
With regard to the use of blood spots for research, there are only 2 states that have implemented opt-in, Texas and Michigan, and they've encountered serious problems. Results from Texas show that a parental decision form is returned for less than half of babies. There are issues such as sample bias, disincentives to comply, parents not understanding the form, and the form being identified as a low priority compared to newborn care. Further, both states have encountered disparities in consenting to research, and African American families in both states have consented at a lower rate. In addition to the impact on the newborn screen itself, we also oppose AB 170 because of the coming federal guidance on the newborn blood spot issue. In response to federal legislation last year, there's a group of newborn screening experts from around the country working to determine how informed consent is defined for federally funded newborn research on blood spots, the most effective methods and location to obtain that informed consent, and to provide resources to states on implementing such policies. Given that California will be directly impacted by this policy, it is prudent to withhold changes in state law and not make significant financial investments that will likely need to be changed in the near future. There is a united coalition in opposition to this bill because of the negative effects it would have on newborn screening and the health of infants in our state. We urge your no vote on AB 170. And our next witness in opposition is Cindy Wyville, who is going to share her family's story and the danger of changing the newborn screening process. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Cindy Wyville. 11 years ago, I was in a room a lot like this one, telling our newborn screening story for the first time. Important progress has been made since then, and for that I am so grateful. I am a mother of twins. When my sons were born in 2003, the newborn screening pilot program was in place. It required a consent form a lot like this one. The heel sticks were done on my boys, but the expanded pilot test was never offered. So when Zach's test spots, what's one of my sons, Zach and Nate, when his test spots arrived at the state lab for processing, there was no consent form with them, so only the standard 4 tests were done. Fast forward 6 months, my family got a stomach flu. Dad got better, baby Nate got better, but baby Zach did not. That was the start of his neurologic crisis. He was hospitalized in terrible pain. It was more than 2 weeks of testing, blood testing, urine testing, imaging, even what ultimately was an unnecessary brain surgery, trying to get a diagnosis for Zachary. And he had no relief. After those 2 weeks, the doctors had tried what they could, and they called us into the family conference room. You don't ever want to go to the conference room at the hospital. It's a big table with lots of tissues and a whole lot of bad news. We were told to expect the worst for Zach at that point, that he would likely continue to suffer until he died, and that he probably wouldn't see age 2. We were devastated. Shortly after that meeting ended, we got the test results with the correct diagnosis. It was glutaric acidemia type 1, a metabolic disorder, an organic acidemia, and the only thing on the short list of what the doctors thought that Zach might have. It was the only one that was treatable. So we started the treatment immediately, which was a dietary change, and he started to stabilize. The news came too late for Zachary. Because his crisis had already happened, he suffered permanent brain damage. He's cognitively intact, but his motor skills are devastated. Weeks later, after we got home from the hospital, we learned about the screening that could have prevented this, how Zach could have been treated from shortly after birth. When his blood spots were pulled and retested, the marker for GA1 was there. It would have been caught, but for the missing consent form. Instead of being a nonverbal, tube-fed wheelchair user, he would be walking, talking, and eating today. 11 years ago, the legislators who heard my story made a positive change to protect babies from severe physical disability, cognitive disability, and early death. You have the chance to do the same thing today. Please vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in opposition, please state your name, organization, and position only.
Hi, I'm Sandra Gildersleeve. I'm a Los Angeles pediatrician, a mom, and a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I urge you to oppose this bill.
Hi, I'm Courtney Brennan. I'm also a pediatrician and a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I urge you to vote no on this bill.
Julie Song, pediatrician and member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I urge you to vote no.
Missy Johnson on behalf of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in opposition.
Janet Lopez representing the University of Southern California in opposition.
Alex Hawthorne on behalf of the Children's Specialty Care Coalition here in opposition.
Tanya Robinson Taylor on behalf of the California Hospital Association in opposition.
Bernadette Ariano on behalf of the California Children's Hospital Association, oppose unless amended to include the final version of the federal regulations. Thank you.
Maureen Higgins representing Biocom and AdvaMed, the Advanced Medical Technology Association, in opposition.
Shilpi Garg, pediatrician, Fresno. I'm a member of American Academy of Pediatrics, and I urge you to say no.
Sonia Mera, pediatrician in Fresno, and on behalf of the American Academy of Pediatrics, I oppose this bill.
Christine Santos, pediatrician in Fresno, and I oppose this bill.
Aysen Azimi, pediatrician in Fresno, on behalf of the American Academy of Pediatrics, I oppose this bill.
Monica Ruiz-Canco, pediatrician, on the behalf of American Academy of Pediatrics, I oppose.
Anita Chada, pediatrician in Fresno, California, on behalf of the American Academy of Pediatrics, I oppose this bill.
Stephen Woods, pediatrician, Los Angeles, with the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I oppose this bill.
Dr. Gladys Felix with the Academy of Pediatrics in strong opposition.
Lydia Bourne representing the California Division of the American Academy of Pediatrics. We're in opposition.
Jessica Lee, pediatrician, UCSF Fresno, in opposition.
David Chin, pediatrician, Los Angeles. I urge you to vote no.
I'm Manu Ram. I'm a Los Angeles pediatrician. I also oppose this bill.
Amy Whittle, pediatrician, San Francisco, member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, oppose.
Elijah Cherkez, a researcher in genetics, an international genetics research trial, and also a member of Society of Clinical Research Professionals, and I'm in favor of this bill.
Jamie Congdon, I'm a medical student at UCSF and future pediatrician and a mother, and I ask for your no vote.
I'm Rebecca Sines, an MD PhD from Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford and member of AAP, and I oppose.
Anu Golapudi, I'm a pediatrician at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford, and I oppose this bill.
Brittany Boswell, pediatrician at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford, also a member of the AAP, and I oppose this bill.
Stacy Weinstein, pediatrician at UCLA, also here with American Academy of Pediatrics, and I oppose this bill.
Rachel Klein, a pediatrician with UCLA, a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I also oppose this bill.
Alice Kuo, pediatrician from UCLA, also a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I oppose this bill.
I'm Annabelle Soros. I'm a current med student, and I graduated from UCLA undergrad, and I oppose this bill.
Kimberly Jablon. I'm a pediatrician at UCSF in San Francisco, and I oppose this bill.
Catherine Ort, pediatrician in San Francisco, also a member of the AAP, and I oppose this bill.
Emily Balkin, also a pediatrician in San Francisco and a member of the AAP, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Daria Thompson, pediatrician in San Francisco, in opposition. Thank you.
Ryan Alanslon, well baby unit physician in Los Angeles, and I oppose this bill.
Mike Carpenter on behalf of the California Healthcare Institute, in opposition.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Fuji. I'm a grandmother of a 8-year-old with the congenital condition, and I urge you to vote no.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in opposition? Seeing none. Additional questions or comments from members? Assemblymember Burke.
This is my last question. Because I do believe that people should have the information, and I do believe in transparency, so I just have one question. What information is different on the opt-out form than you are proposing that is on the opt-in form?
There's a number of things that we think are different, and I appreciate that you raise this, because we keep hearing that everybody is for disclosing this, and yet the disclosures right now are completely inadequate. We want this to be written in plain language so that everybody can understand it. We want it to be featured prominently so people actually see it. And we want to make sure that people understand what is done so that they can make an informed consent about how to do it. That's the three primary differences.
Additional questions or comments from members? Assemblymember Chu.
I just want to state I do plan to vote to move this out of this committee, but I certainly have heard, and we've all heard, the very significant concerns that have been raised about the current policy proposal that's been put forth, and as I shared with the author earlier, I do share those concerns. I think this is an important enough conversation, though, that the conversation should continue to see if there are different ideas that we haven't thought about, different approaches that could ensure that we are not at all impacting the screening process, not at all impacting the enormous benefits of the blood spot database, but deal with what we all understand are potential and future concerns that I think could be very real. So I just want to say I'm willing for the conversation to continue, but I think we're all eagerly hoping that there will be other solutions that we could support.
Additional comments and questions from members? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Assemblymember Gomez.
So, Mr. Gatto, I understand the intent of what you're trying to achieve with this bill, but I do have concerns. At the same time, I'm afraid that if it makes it out of the committee, then we're not going to be able to do the policy work here. And then in the next committee, we'll be forced to do the policy work, which...
What's the next committee, Mr. Gomez? Been there, done that.
Start. So you feel my pain. So I'm not going to support it now, but I think that there are some aspects of the bill that I'm interested in and would like to see kind of some of the other issues worked out. But right now I can't support it. But if you were my, if I ever needed an attorney, you'd definitely be the guy I would call. So
I'm not sure that's a compliment, but okay.
And Ms. Gonzalez as your joint counsel.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Assemblymember Thurman.
I too would want you to be my attorney. I had shades of. I'm trying to remember the film where it was picture this, and you took me back to. I'm reminded of the film, but I won't say. I'm a bad member because a good member would have called you and said, Mike, I'm stuck on your bill. And I didn't do that. And I apologize for that right up front and on the floor. I want to give you the courtesy as a member. My gut is fearful. And I've always had one mantra, and I'm going to stick to it today, and that's if it wouldn't make my kids proud, I can't do it. And I want to give you the courtesy, as was stated by my colleague, to extend the discussion, but my heart tells me be fearful and be cautious. And so I'm giving my mea culpa right up front for not having had this conversation with you before. But I want you to hear it from me that I have not been able to resolve my concerns in this discussion about the potential for harm if someone doesn't do the screening. I'm just being straight up and up front. That's where I'm stuck. And barring some new piece of information, I don't think I can support it.
Well, first of all, thank you. That was very, very kind of you, and I don't think you need to apologize at all. I mean, hearings are for this precise type of thing. Hearings are for discussing these matters and making sure that that members see the back and forth and decide whether or not it's something they can support. I do that myself with everything. The thing that I want to stress is that this does not change the screening program at all. I've said that many times. It's worth saying again, in that I joint authored the bill last year to expand the screening program. I personally trust California parents. I think that they would get this information, they would process it, and they would make an informed decision that's a lot more informed than it is now. But if it is the will of the committee to park this and take a deep breath and think about it, then I will ask the gentleman from Los Angeles to withdraw his motion, and we can park it and continue to work on it. The legislative year is not done yet. I think that might be the more sane thing to do, given the tenor of the opposition and given how passionate it was. And some things were accurate, some things were not. But we can continue to work on this to find something that gives parents what they deserve, to give parents the information that they desire, and to make sure that they understand exactly what is being done to their child's DNA and their child samples. So I'm more than happy to do that if it meets the will of the committee and, of course, the chairman. So.